right, it says we're live. Let's look. There we go. There we go. There. I think it's working now. I say it looked weird. It didn't look right, but now I think it's working. I think we're good. All right, so let's jump into this. Disclaimers out of the way, and then we'll get into it. We got a couple people already here. So this is the weekly live broadcast, pretty much every Thursday evening. This is where I am, and you can come in here, get questions that maybe I haven't responded to because I've not been good about responding to comments. But if you have those questions, you have something you need answered, this is a good place to do it. I pretty much respond to every chat that comes in during the live broadcast, unless you're talking to each other. Not very many rules here. Pretty simple. Be polite, be family friendly. Don't start cussing anybody. Don't start calling anybody names. But other than that, pretty much anything's up for grabs. We can talk politics or religion if you want to, because I believe we can still be friends even if we do have differences of opinions. Like I said, just be polite, be friendly. Don't be hateful with anybody or anything like that. And we'll get along fine. Let's jump into it. We got Joy here from Western Oregon. Good to see you, Joy. Bart McDonald says, how about the weather in Southwest Missouri? Yeah, it's been beautiful. Craziest thing, we had -8 last week, 65 degrees yesterday. It was just beautiful out. And I think it was like 70 degrees day before. I mean, it's been crazy. Homestead Matters says, Western Oregon representation from the start. Howdy from Eugene, Oregon. Hope everyone is doing well. Husband agreed to rabbits last night, so I'm bringing I'm binging all the videos. Thank you, sir. Well, you are absolutely welcome. Hopefully that works out well for you. And congratulations on what's going to be your new rabbits. Let's see. We got David Lister here from McAllister Quail Trail. Good to see you. Jacob and Andy Reed, both of you guys. Good to see you guys. They say hello to everybody. Madison says, what's the best hatchery to order quail from? Well, there's a bunch of them, but My Shire Farm's great. If you can, I mean, I don't know how busy they are right now, how backed up they are on orders, but My Shire Farm's a great supplier. We got a couple others though. We've got, let's see, Whiskey Tango Farm supplies eggs, Guidros Family Farm, down in Louisiana. Those guys, they're good suppliers of eggs. When you say order quail from, you probably don't want to order live quail. You want to order eggs. Quail don't ship really generally very well live. Jacob's seconding Guidros Family Farm. Agreed. They're a great one. I'm sure I missed somebody. Somebody else throw it out there if I missed. We got Warchild here. Says, hey, I'll shout out from I don't know how to pronounce that. New Zealand. Thank you for joining us. Good to see you. Andy says, let's see, everybody from Southwest Michigan, a little warmer weather lately. Feels great. Yeah, it feels like spring here. I mean, it is. I know we're not quite out of the woods on the weather yet, but it does feel like spring here. It's been in the 60s, low 70s all week. It's been crazy. Still getting down pretty cold at night, low 40s, maybe 39 degrees, somewhere right around in there. But it's been nice. Jacob says, don't forget to like the live. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Hey, there's Verna. Good to see you, Verna. Thanks for joining us. Homestead Matters says, Guidros, Gopher Ridge, Thieving Otter Farms, Southern Biophilic, I think it is, Bryant's Roost, Double R Farms, depends where you are, find the closest one to you. Okay, so there's a good list Homestead Matters provided for us. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Don't have My Shire in there, though. My Shire Farm's a great supplier. So anyway, you got several to choose from there. Verna says, hey, Andy. Oh, she's talking to other people. I'll let you guys do that. And then we got Vicky from Eastern Washington. Good to see you. Thank you for joining us tonight. Dawn says, good evening from South Central Illinois. It's been 60s, and tomorrow 66. Yeah, pretty close to that here, too. It's been really nice, actually. Let's see. We got Brixton here. Says, hey, from Missouri. Really enjoying this warmer weather after all that 10s and 20s. Yeah, no kidding. I mean, it was lower than 10s and 20s. And we got, I don't know what part of Missouri you're in, but I'm sure we've talked about it, but I don't remember. But we got down to like -8 degrees was the low. Now, it didn't stay there all day. That was like the low overnight. But still, I mean, it didn't get hardly above, I don't think it got above 10 degrees that day. It was crazy. Farmer Marshall says, hey, Chris, testing out my quail incubator and hydrometer. My Shire eggs are on the way. Awesome. I hope you have a great hatch. Good luck with that. And hope it goes well. Andy Rabbit says, My Shire is a great farm to get eggs from. Yeah, I agree. Fantastic. I mean, my birds are My Shire farm birds. And Verna's got a link to them right there that she posted. So There's a good whoever's looking for quail. I've already forgotten now who asked, but there's a link to my Shire farm there. And then, like I said, Homestead Matters posted a whole bunch of other ones that you could check with as well. So there's quite a few actually. All right. And then all of a sudden I'm at the end of the chat. All of a sudden it's just let's see. George says, hello all. Autumn is coming. Days are getting shorter. Yeah, we're on the other end of that. Our days are getting longer. Next weekend, I think, is daylight savings time. So it's going to be sunny. And I mean, the sun's not going to set till like 7:30 at night. It's going to be pretty nice. Oh, Verna's got a link to Short Pickens quail as well. So there's another one. Brixton says, you find the rabbit that got out? No, I have not caught them. Don't think I'm going to, actually. I've got a video coming out talking about that. But no, I have not caught them. Don't think I will. Andy says, when's your next litter of rabbits due? I think, let's see, when is it? Like 3 weeks from now or something? Let me take a look. I got a note down here that tells me when it is. I got to find it, though. Oh, there we go. Yep. Yeah, roughly like March 10th, it looks like, is the due date. So coming up pretty soon. Let's see. And then there's Verna posts a link for Guidro's Family Farm. So there's another one. Yeah, Homestead Matters says, oh, no, those wascally rabbits. But seriously, that sucks. Sorry to hear that. Yeah, I mean, it's just something that happens. It's not the end of the world. But yeah, losing a couple. I mean, 2 of them basically I lost. Had 3 get out, got 1. Thankfully, my breeder, and then 2 others that just disappeared. Can't get them. But like I said, I got a video coming out. I'll talk a little bit more about that in the video. Warren's Life says, hey, Chris. Hey, guys. Good to see you. Thank you for joining us tonight. Hope everybody's had a good week. It's been not too bad of a week for me. Not too terribly busy at work, but enough to keep me fairly occupied. Sometimes at work it's a little bit slow and I'm sitting there kind of twiddling my thumbs for part of the day. I'd much rather be a little bit more busy and have things to do. Andy Rabbit says, I have found the longer they are out, the less likely that you will catch them. Oh yeah, I believe that. David Lister says, Chris, we have a New Zealand red buck that we picked up recently. Does not seem to like the pellets we have. Other bunnies are eating it. He's eating hay and what little clover I can find. Thoughts? I've never had a rabbit that was too terribly picky. I'm not sure what they were feeding before. You might check with who you picked it up from and see what they were feeding. I mean, you could try to switch brands or you could just hold out. I mean, he's got to eat eventually, That's the only things I really have suggestions on. Cut back on the hay, cut back on the clover and that kind of stuff, and just kind of hold out a little bit. He's going to eat eventually. He's not going to starve himself to death. That would be my suggestion. Madison says, how did you build a successful homesteading YouTube channel? Well, I don't know if I'd call it homesteading, but how successful I am, I guess, is kind of, hard to say for sure. I mean, I have 100,000 subscribers, but I don't get anywhere near that many views. Actually, I have more than 100,000 now, but I don't get anywhere near that many views on most of my videos. Really, it's just mostly about consistency, just trying to be consistent, which I haven't been good about lately. But in the first, 8-9 years of my videos, I was pretty consistent with putting out 2 videos a week. And sorry, something just caught my eye. I'm not sure where that came from or why it's there. But anyway, so it's just about being consistent, putting out videos pretty regularly. I don't do necessarily. I wouldn't say I'm the best one to model after, because the videos that I do are mostly instructional, what they call like evergreen content, to really have a good, channel that's going to be super successful, like somebody like Living Traditions or somebody like that. You need a mix of not just that, but like a good story to go along with it. Like what are you trying to accomplish? Their story is that they're homesteaders. They moved from Arizona and they're trying to build their life to be self-sufficient and all that kind of stuff. So you get to kind of follow along with that story, and that's good. That engages people. But then you also need, good like instructional videos and things like that that are highly searchable that would draw people in. So you want to draw people in, but then keep them engaged with, other kinds of things. I don't do the best with that other part. So I don't know that I'm absolutely the best, but most of it has to do with, lots of videos. That's what Verna says. Lots of videos, lots of consistency with putting videos out, and, trying to be like when you're doing. Also understand that there are a couple different types of videos. There's instructional videos, which is mostly what I do, but not all, mostly. And then there's like I said, like story videos, vlog type videos, personality type stuff like that. And when you're doing an instructional video about something like how to do this or how to do that, keep it short, to the point, get into it. There's nothing that's more frustrating than if you want to look up a video on how to process a rabbit, for example, and the person on the other end talks for like 30 minutes before they ever get to processing the rabbit. I mean, get to the point, when you're doing instructional videos, because most of the people that are coming to watch that are not necessarily going to be, it's not that they're going to be super engaged with most of your videos. They want to get the information that they came for, and that's it. And then you have other videos that you can expand a little bit, talk about who you are, show your personality more in, that kind of stuff. So I don't know if that makes sense, but that's my best advice, really. You'd have to look at somebody else probably to get better advice on it, because like I said, I have a lot of subscribers, but I've been doing this for over 10 years, and it took a long time to get to that point, Brixton wants to know, do you have the silver plaque? I do. It is actually, I'll show you here. It's right here. Right here, if I can get it down without knocking things over. Yeah, right there. There it is, a silver plaque. I should probably hang it up on the wall behind me like everybody else does, right? Rabbit Homestead says, hey, Chris and Vay and everyone else too. Hey to you too. Thank you for joining. Let's see. Shania Britton, I think it is, says, hey, Chris, love the channel. When's a good time to move our young quail in with our mature quail? As young as you can get them outside. As soon as you can get them outside, move them in with your birds. I found that I've had the best luck when I'm moving birds at 2 to 3 weeks old in with my adult birds. They just kind of grow up with them, and I don't have usually any kinds of issues. If I wait till they get much older, then the other birds see them as more mature birds, and they get territorial, and they kind of pick on them. So you really want to do it, 4 weeks, I would say, is about as old as I would let them get before I'd move them in with the adult birds. Hopefully that helps. Chester Hickman says, good evening, everyone. Well, good evening to you too. And Brixton says, nice. I'm not sure what we're referring to there. Oh, Homestead Matter says, hey, congrats, how cool. Talking about the silver plaque, probably. Well, thank you. Appreciate that. Andy Rabbit says, I don't want to watch a 30-minute or longer video often. I want the info in minutes. Yeah, I think that's where a lot of people, a lot of channels that kind of fail in that sense, is that they want to do an instructional video or some kind of highly searchable thing, how to process a rabbit, how to, whatever it would be, how to, fix your sink or whatever. And they want to like do 30 minutes worth of, or 20 minutes, of talking about who they are, how their sink broke or what, before they ever get to fixing it, and it's like, if you're looking up an instructional video, you want the information. That's what you're there for. You're not there to hear about their life story. It's one of the other things that drives me crazy about, like, you look up a recipe and you got to hear the whole story about how their grandmother made this for them when they were a kid, and how it lost the recipe, and then they found it in an old cookbook and they brought it out, and then they made some, just give me the recipe. That's what I want. So anyway, I think that's a big issue that a lot of people make when shooting videos, is not understanding the difference between like vlog style videos versus, vlog style videos are for the people that connect with you. They want to come back. They want to, see what's going on in your life and see how you're doing. And the instructional type videos are more to just draw some views in, draw some people in, let them see, that you know what you're doing, I guess, help them out, give them something to, whatever they're trying to search for, help them get that question answered. And that's it. Let them come back and watch your other videos if they want to. Don says, I forgot to hit the like button. That's odd for me. Oh, well, that's okay. I don't see who hits a like and who doesn't. And even if you don't hit the like, that's okay. It doesn't hurt my feelings. Jennifer says, good evening, Chris and everyone. Chris, what kind of rabbits do you like better, silver fox or New Zealand? Boy, it's hard to say. I like the silver fox quite a bit. They're pretty easy to handle for the most part. They're just, I kind of like them. But as far as like good meat production goes, I really think the New Zealand's are probably better for that. The problem with New Zealand's is that they can be kind of, especially the does, kind of crazy, kind of hard to handle sometimes. So, I mean, they both have good and bad points, but the New Zealand's tend to produce bigger litters and get them to weight faster. So I kind of like them for, just pure meat production, but I like having the silver foxes too. I mean, I kind of like them as a rabbit. All right. Andy Rabbit says, hello, Rabbit Homesteading. Okay. Tony from Toronto, good to see you. Andy Rabbit says, I do admit I stopped watching some channels as much because of long videos. Yeah, I know, I get it. I mean, there's a time and a place for a longer video. But, it depends, really. Depends on what it's about. Just don't say more than you need to say to get it out there. Believe me, I can talk with the best of them. I mean, I like to talk. So I don't have a problem doing that. But at the same time, I kind of have I like to teach. I like to be able to help people solve problems. And I kind of understand that when it comes to teaching, that you want to be precise, kind of to the point. You don't want to be, babbling on for half an hour and lose their attention. Abbott's Guns and Hobbies says, good evening. Good evening to you too. Thank you for joining. Don says, I run a lot of videos that are not to the point on high speed to get through and get to the info I want and move on. Yep, I agree. It depends. There are different ways people use YouTube. I mean, there are a lot of people out there, and there's a lot of channels, and some of them I watch too that, are longer form videos, but they're more like storytelling. Kind of. I mean, that's what it is. It's a telling about their life or telling about their story, where they came from, what they're doing, and and I don't mind those. I kind of like those. But when I'm looking for like information on how to do something, get to the point. I mean, you got to get it answered for me, because that's what I'm here for. Rabbit Homesteading says, when I need a quick how-to type video, I do search for shorter ones. Also, I don't sub to them. Yeah, no, I mean, I don't necessarily either. I mean, sometimes it depends, but like when it comes to like, fixing something, like fixing a part on the car or fixing whatever, probably I'm not going to sub to that channel, because I'm not really, I mean, that's a one-time thing I'm having to do. I'm not constantly working on cars. I don't need to sub and find out all these different things. But sometimes, you connect with somebody and you think, this person seems like a really cool person. Let me check out some of their other videos. And you find out, hey, they have some pretty cool videos that I like. I like hearing their story. I like hearing what's going on. And I'll go ahead and sub to that, Brixton says, just has a rabbit that have a bust on, just had a rabbit have a bust on a litter, sadly. Only had 2 and pushed both away. They both ended up dying. When should I breed her again and keep it from happening a second time? Well, if she's a first-time mom, I mean, that's not uncommon. I had the same issue with mine, first-time mom. The second litter, she actually lost 2, but that really wasn't her issue necessarily. That was just because it was like -8 that day. I mean, it was super cold out, and she, being kind of the newer mom, she dug all the way to the bottom of the nest box and had the babies right on the cardboard on the bottom. So I didn't get home in time to get them warmed up and lost them. But that's not really her fault. Anyway, my point to that is, don't stress about it. It's first-time mom. Those things happen sometimes with first times. Second time, she's probably going to do just fine. Mine actually did everything right the second time, and just bad weather and all that kind of stuff happened. So go ahead and rebreed her whenever you want to. Go ahead now. I usually give mine about a week, but you could rebreed her the next day if you wanted to. Rabbits can rebreed, just like that. In fact, they can usually, they're just whenever you want to. It's good to go. Get it done. Andy Rabbit says, does anyone know anything about Tartarian cherry trees and fruit? I've never even heard of that before. What is that? Tartarian cherry tree? No, don't know anything about it. It's I'm not a big cherry fan, but it says it's a fast growing tree. Yeah, I don't know. That's a new one to me. Abbott's Guns and Hobbies says, I was just about done with my quail hutch, based heavily on yours. Where's the best location to put it? North or south side of the shop? or just worry about being under shade? I'm in Northeast Oklahoma. Well, I'll tell you where to put it. No, I'm just kidding. My wife hates that joke. I play it all the time on her, but she hates it. Um, where we going with it? Okay, north or south? Okay, so if it, the north side would probably be the best because it's out of direct sun. The sun's primarily in the southern sky, so that's going to provide shade for the rabbits, and that's probably going to be your best. That's where I had mine for the longest time, was the north side of my house, but I've moved it out into my back lot back there, but it's in tree cover, shade cover. So I mean, put it under shade, if not on the north side of your shed or workshop or whatever it was. The shop, near in the shop. Yeah. Put it there if you can. I mean, wherever you want to. But yeah, make sure it's in shade. Brixton says, thanks, Chris, and y'all others. Oh, wait a minute. You were talking about quail. It doesn't matter. Quail's basically the same thing. If you can keep them shaded in the summer, that's best. When I said I had mine on the north side of my house, that was my rabbit hutch, actually. I moved out there. But either way, it's pretty much the same thing. If you can keep them in the shade, they're going to do best. They struggle more in the heat of summer than they do in the cold of winter. So keep them shaded during the summertime. That's your best bet. Jonathan says, are you still raising rabbits? Oh, yeah. Still am. Sergio says, hello, hi from New York City. Right now, just New York, not New York City, New York. Well, hello to you too. Let's see. Fifi Honey Blossom says, hi again from Nambia. Is it Nambia? It says, we had a severe food shortage. Couldn't feed my quail for 2 months and had to give them away. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, that's terrible. I mean, we haven't run into that here, so lucky me. I do have people ask all the time, and I don't have a good answer. Like, what would you feed your quail if you couldn't get feed at the feed store? I really don't know. I wish I had better news for you, but that's unfortunate. Hopefully that gets resolved and you can get some more again at some point. Jonathan says, do you ever go to the Afton swap meet? Not very. I mean, no, I don't ever go there. Afton's a little ways away, so it's not. It's not terribly far, but it's a little too far for me to drive for a swap meet most of the time. We got Bruce from warm Northern California. Good to see you, Bruce. Thanks for joining. Is it warm because of the weather or because of all the fires? Or maybe a little bit of both. Hopefully I think the fires are all put out now, though, aren't they? Hopefully. That was terrible. And just the weather, huh? Good. It's been warm here, too. I don't know what warm is to you, but it's been in the mid to high 60s, low 70s here all week. So it's been pretty nice. Even a couple days where I didn't even need a jacket out there. Fifi Honey Blossom says the supplier got caught in a tax evasion scam. I have a plot of land, got duck, chickens, and sheep there. I also grow my own feed. Just got a processor to make the seed and grain. Well, there, it sounds like it did get... Bruce says, our fires were 8 years ago. But anyway, I'm sorry. Let me back up. Sounds like you got a solution then now. Sorry to hear that. That's terrible. Yeah, I'm so sorry for you. All right, Bruce says, our fires were 8 years ago. We might have made it to 80 today. Well, that's pretty warm. Andy Rabbit says, I'm getting ready to ramp up some breeding on quail. Yeah, I will before too long, too. Jonathan says, I can't get my rabbits to breed. What advice do you get? They won't lift for the buck. Oh, that's a common issue you're going to run into with rabbits. It's not always, they don't always lift. It's difficult. All right, so there's a couple of things that you can do. One is just keep trying, like morning, night, morning, night, morning, night. Sometimes that just repetitive trying, attempts that will get them to go ahead and lift for them. Add light. If you don't have it on there already, maybe try to bump up the light to like 14 hours a day. That can help a little bit, put them in the mood. Those are my best suggestions. How old are your rabbits? How big are they? That may have something to do with it too. They need to be at least 6, especially the does, at least 6 months old and about 80% of what their adult weight's going to be. So, if you're talking about a New Zealand white, well, that's going to be a 10-pound rabbit. You want it to be at least 6 months old and about 8 pounds before you ever try to breed it. If they're not quite that far along, then you may have to just give them a little bit of time. What else? If they are that far along and they're still not lifting, one of the other things that you can try is put them in a pet carrier, drive them around the block a couple of times. I don't know why that works, but so many people swear by it that it might work. Just drive them around the block a couple of times, put them in with the buck, see if they lift for them. Those are probably the most common things that you could do with them. Andy Rabbit says, I have some quail that have hatched out in 2022. Figured I should hatch some replacements for them. Yeah, probably about time. I know a lot of people I've heard say, quail won't produce over a year. I have plenty that produce well over a year. But 2 years, you're going on 3 now. It's probably about time. Brixton says, what's the max age for a rabbit to breed? Well, I don't know that there's a definite max age. Commonly, you're probably going to get about 5 years out of a doe before she starts throwing small litters and has problems and things like that. Some does go a little bit longer, some a little bit shorter. It also depends on when they were first bred. I've always heard that if you wait, like if they get more than a year old before you ever breed them, you may end up shortening the amount of time that they can breed. They may not ever do as well. I don't know if that's true or not because I haven't tried that out myself, but I've always heard that from people. But yeah, generally you can expect about 5 years. Buck says, if your rabbits know what you want them, know that you want them to lift, they will or won't, depending on if they like you. Well, there may be something to that. I don't know. Don says, I'll be hatching for April Fool's Day, so starting incubating 3/16. I can't wait. Nice. My daughter was born on April Fool's Day. Chester Hickman says, Chris, if my New Zealand blue rabbits have a recessive white gene, will they keep having white kits in their litters? Well, it kind of depends. If they have a recessive white gene and both the buck and the doe do, then there's a chance that they're going to throw a small number of, it could be a bigger number too, but more than likely it would be a small number of white kits that you would get every great once in a while. Not necessarily every single litter, maybe one white one every litter or something like that. But it's not a guarantee either. You just don't know. You just have to wait and see what you get. Jonathan says they're 8 months. They are New Zealand. Okay, so 8 months is probably about the right age, but are they of weight? Are they like 8 pounds-ish, somewhere around in there? Otherwise, just keep trying. Give them a little bit of time. They'll probably start lifting any time. Andy says, I have some that are 3 years old before I got good hatches from them. You had some that it took them 3 years before you got good hatches from them. That's unusual. But yeah, I've had, birds 3-4 years, I think, and still producing eggs and still getting good hatches. Fifi Honey Blossom says, I grow a mixture of amaranth, corn, barley, and millet, grind it all up, and they do very well on it. I've also exclusively fed quail and the other fowl on amaranth, and they did fabulously. Interesting. I'm kind of curious how that would go long term. Quail are kind of omnivores. They really need a lot of insect protein, animal protein, as well as from grains and things like that. But yeah, I could see that working in at least short term for them anyway. Warchild says, is there such a thing as rabbit or quail AI? Artificial insemination. I don't know. Maybe. I wouldn't do it, but I don't know if anybody has or not. Good question. S.O. Swanson says, forgot what day it was. I'm here now. That's what counts. That is what counts. Thank you for joining us. Andy Rabbit says, I did even try to hatch. I did even try to hatch any till they were 3 years old. Oh, you didn't try to hatch them until they were 3 years. It's not that they didn't produce good hatch rates until they were 3 years old. You just didn't try, and you still got good hatch rates out of them. I get it now. Brixton says, most likely, but I doubt it's a common as cattle or main livestock animals. Yeah, you're probably right. Andy Rabbit says, didn't try, not did. I figured it out. I knew what you meant. All right. And we're at the end of chat again. I don't have much else to share. I always say this. I should have something prepared when the chat slows down, and I never do. I become unprepared to the live broadcast. seems like there was something happened this week. Oh, something crazy that did happen that we could talk about while we're waiting for the chat to catch up is, I don't know if you guys heard this, but Gene Hackman died. And I'm kind of curious about this story. I mean, he's 95 years old, sad, but he was old, lived a long life. But it was him, his wife, and the dog. They all died, all three of them. His wife was like in her late 60s. I don't know how old the dog is, but I don't know that it matters. But all three of them found dead in their house. And they say it doesn't look like carbon monoxide, because that was the first thing I went to. I'm kind of curious to see what's going to happen there. I don't know if you guys heard about that. Oh, see, I didn't hear that part. Somebody else has got a comment we'll get to here in just a second. Steve says, to War Child, the Chinese use AI in their farms. Interesting. Artificial insemination is what they mean, not artificial intelligence. Fifi Home Blossom, or Honey Blossom, says, they did get a lot of bugs. Now I think about it, they're semi-free range, so they definitely helped in a pinch. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Andy Rabbit says, I did get a lot of hens from them, hatches from the 3-year-olds. Yeah, that's probably just coincidence. I don't know that that's anything to say that the older they get, the more hens they'll throw. I don't think there's anything to that, but who knows? Buck says, let's see, I heard, about Gene Hackman. I heard that he and his wife died in the bathroom with a ton of pills around them. I didn't hear that part at all. I just heard that they found them dead in their house and they're looking into seeing, what it was, but who knows? We'll find out more as we go, I suppose. Don says, is it harder for an older person to process a 10-pound rabbit or 6-pound ones? I don't know. Wait, is it harder to process a 10-pound or a 6-pound? I imagine a 10-pound would be harder to process than a 6-pound. In fact, probably a lot harder to process for multiple reasons. One is 10-pound rabbit's probably a much older rabbit, so they've got their thicker, heavier coat, heavier fur, thicker skin. It's much harder to skin an older rabbit than it is a younger rabbit. So that's going to be a lot harder. As far as an older person, is it harder for an older person? I don't know. It'd be harder for anybody to process a 10-pound rabbit than it is a 6-pound rabbit. Steve says, hey, everybody. Hello to you too. Brixton says, when's the next video coming out? Hopefully, I should get something done this weekend. So come out probably Monday morning. I tried to get something done this last weekend that passed. I just couldn't come up with a good topic. I didn't have anything to shoot. I struggle with that a lot anymore. And I've really kind of slowed down on videos a lot, but I'm working on it. I'm trying to get back into the swing of things. Andy Rabbit says, I have another batch of 3-year-olds now. I'm going to see if I get more hens again. That'd be interesting if you did. Steve says, Don, you're not that old. Dawn says, thanks, Steve, but I am old. LOL. Yeah, well, I'm kind of old too, I guess. I just turned 51, so I don't know. Is that old? When I was a kid, I thought that was really old. Not so much anymore. Dawn says, I saw some 2.5-pound rabbits. They were cute, but not for meat. Yeah, there's a lot of the dwarf breeds that are more pet rabbits that, yeah, they're definitely very cute. Dawn says, Chris, you're younger than my son. LOL. Yeah, that happens. I'm at the age now where people I work with, though, I don't know who this is texting me. Who is this? Somebody I've talked to many times. I'm trying to remember who it is. Oh, I know who this is. Okay. Yeah, I want to know what pellets I use for the rabbits and where do you get it from? So somebody's texting me this right now. Want to know what pellets? I can't remember your name. Who it is texting me? I think it's Mike's. I can't remember. Anyway, yeah, the pellets I use right now I get from Turkey Creek Feed. It's, if you're in the Joplin area, you would probably know that. It's way out on 20th and Prigmore, and it's MF. No, it's not MFA. It's Andy Rabbit uses the same ones. I can't ever remember the name of it. She'll come up with it here in a minute. I don't know if you're on the live broadcast watching and just texting me or not. So I don't know if you got that message or not, but I'll text him back here in a little bit. Let's see. Let me just see. I'll text him right now. Give me a second. Okay, there we go. Okay, so what I was saying is I'm kind of at the age now where I work with all these people, and it's like you kind of become friends with the people you work with in a sense, and then they start talking and they're talking about their parents, and their parents are younger than I am. It's weird. Most of the time they're pretty close in age, but they're younger. Buck says here's an article that corroborates the Hackman pills angle, but it's a bit different than I had heard it earlier. You say here's an article. You probably tried to post a link. It's not going to let you post a link, but I'll have to check on it later. Andy says, "Oh my gosh, I did too, Chris. Now that I'm hitting that, I'm rethinking that. I don't know what are you talking about. I don't know what exactly you're responding to there, but anyway, S.S. Swanson says, well, Don, you can have Andy show you a Havana 5-pounder. There you go. David Lister says 51. Now I don't even remember being your age. Really? Because I can, I always say I have a pretty good memory, and I do really have a pretty good memory. But I remember things from like when I was 2 years old. I remember stuff happening when I was 2 years old. Quite a bit of stuff, actually. My earliest memories were probably about the time we moved from Michigan back to Missouri. I say back to. I was born in Michigan, but my parents are from Missouri, and I was just right at 2 years old when we moved. Buck says, actually, the link is too long for here, but it's an easy search. Yeah, it's not going to let you post a link anyway. You have to be a moderator to post links. H&S Pellets, says Andy. Yeah, okay, that's it. H&S. Don says, yeah, okay, says to Swanson, yeah, she is going to show them to me. I had a guy pushing to mucks, and I told him I was old and said it's not any harder holding larger than smaller, but I do realize that he's trying to sell. Now, as far as I was answering your question, I thought you were talking about processing. As far as holding them, I mean, I don't think that they're any harder to hold. In fact, in some ways, they may be a little bit easier, the larger rabbit, to hold. I kind of fold them up, put my hand under their butt basically, and grab the nape of their neck and kind of fold them up and carry them that way so they don't kick and scratch me. But there's a little bit more bulk there to hold on to, whereas the smaller ones, sometimes it's a little bit hard to kind of keep them all contained. They get a little jumpy. Joyce says, I used to butcher and eat the dwarf rabbits I couldn't sell. Yeah, I mean, any rabbit could be a meat rabbit, but not necessarily the best option, but hey, it's nothing wrong with it. Scrap 5000 says, what's up, y'all? Greetings from New York City. Good to see you. Thanks for joining. Joyce says, I became officially old this year. Did you? I don't know what the age is to be officially old, but who knows? Oh, on Medicare now, huh? Yeah. Well, I guess that might do it. I don't know. Andy Rabbit says, age? I can't remember what we were. I know you said something, but I lost it. Oh, talking about the age. Okay, you're saying when you were a kid, you thought 50 was super old, and now you don't think so anymore. Yep. Don says, I remember my 50th birthday for sure. It was awesome. Yeah, I didn't do anything special for my 50th. I mean, to me, birthdays are not that big of a deal. It's just kind of another day. It's no big deal. So I didn't do anything special for my 50th birthday. Don, let's see. Steve says to Don, more about the age of the rabbit than the size of it. The older, the harder it will be to skin, for sure. Absolutely. But if you're talking about a 10-pound New Zealand, that's over a year old probably. So it's going to be tougher. Andy says, Don, I'll give you some questions to ask him about his Tamucks. Don says, is H&S Pellets just a Missouri company? I think so. I'm pretty sure it is. Andy says, I'm too old to remember how old I am. They say the memory is the second thing to go. S.O. Swanson says, you young whippersnappers talking about age, funny. Yeah. See, Buck says, dwarf rabbits make for a cute dinner. I bet they do. Joyce says 65. That's not that much older than me. And Brixton says, man, I'm still in school. Nothing wrong with that. It's all good. We were all in school at one point. Andy says, Don, no, I know H&S Feed was in Jonesboro, Arkansas. Okay, not just Missouri then. George says, Chris, when's the last hatch you do before winter sets in, or what month or of the year do you hatch quails? I do know the roosters calm down when it gets colder. Well, my roosters don't necessarily calm down when it gets colder because I keep lights on the hutches. They calm down when the daytime starts shortening. If you don't keep lights on the hutches, they're going to calm down. They're also going to calm down as they get older anyway. They get pretty wild and crazy for, excuse me, like somewhere around 8 to 12 weeks, well, probably a little longer than that, actually. They get a little bit rambunctious. They're like teenagers, basically. But once they get past that, they tend to calm down a little bit. And as the days get shorter, the amount of light gets shorter, the hens stop laying eggs, the roosters will calm down because they're not in breeding mode anymore. But if you keep lights on the hutches, then they're going to keep going all the time. And I do keep lights so I get egg production in the wintertime. I typically don't, our average first frost date's somewhere around middle of October. Used to be October 15th, but I think it's pushing back a little bit. So it's probably later, maybe end of October, 1st of November, somewhere around in there. But I typically stop hatching somewhere around late September, somewhere around in there. I usually don't start up again until about March or April, somewhere right around in there. Usually April, because our average last frost date's around April 15th. I don't like to brood quail more than just 2 weeks. I like to get them out to the hutches outside, and it's usually a little too chilly earlier than that to do that. So that's usually like April through September, or probably April through September. Is my hatching. Desert Homestead says, memory is number 2. What's number 1? I don't remember. That's the deal. Don't remember what number 1 is. And if you don't remember, you're in trouble, right? It's a joke. Bad joke. Andy Rabbit says, H&S Feed sold the mill to Hearst Feed and Farm Feed Store, so I'm not sure anymore. Okay. Well, I don't know for sure either. I thought it was a Missouri company. May not be. Abbott's Guns and Hobbies says, Andy Rabbit, I forgot my 22nd birthday back in 93 when I first got my ship got to my ship in the Navy, LOL. Interesting. So you turned 22 in 1993. Well, you're just a year or two older than me. In 1993, I was 19. So. So Don looks like says you search for H&S in Illinois and it's all around the state, but not in this state. Weird. Huh, interesting. I don't know. Kayla says, finally caught alive. Well, thank you for joining us. Appreciate that. You got about 20 minutes left, but you made it. Let's see. Madison says, have you heard of the tomato storing variety Pinjar Songil? I think it is. It's a semi-indeterminate tomato. It can store for 6 months if stored on the vine and hung. No, I've never heard of that before. I'm going to have to look that one up too. I can't remember how to spell it already. I mean, good grief, that's a hard one. Hang on a second. Let me copy and paste. And I'll take a look at that after a while because I've never heard of that one before. It's a Spanish variety from Catalonia. Huh. $4.95 for seeds from that seed place I've never heard of, so who knows? Interesting. I'll have to look into that a little bit later. Thank you for sharing. Let's see. Andy says maybe there's a big import tax into Illinois. Could be that. George says, so I can keep hatching until they stop laying eggs. I do have lights, but I noticed 2 of the pens out of 3 with lights. The females degraded the following spring with egg laying. Yeah, see, I don't have that problem at all. But yeah, you should. Yeah, keep hatching as long as you want to. You can hatch all winter long if you want to. As long as the eggs don't freeze, there's no reason that you couldn't hatch them. Let's see. Kayla says, how many weeks do I change over to Purina Game Bird 30% protein to another feed? I don't. I mean, you can change it if you want to. Really, when they hit about 6 weeks, 7 weeks old, you could change over to a lower protein feed if you want to. I just feed them that all the time. I don't. It's not quite 30%. I think I'm feeding like 28% protein. It is a game bird starter. It's not medicated or anything, but it's a game bird starter, and that's what I feed all my birds. I never switch them to anything else. I just keep them on that feed. I find that they do better with higher proteins. The 22 to 22% or higher protein is kind of what I like. But you could, if you wanted to switch them out to a lower protein feed, you could do it. I'd say somewhere around 6 to 7 weeks old would be a good time to do that. Madison says, Melissa K. Norris is pioneering today, has a good podcast on it, on that tomato, huh? Interesting. Who is Melissa K. Norris? I'm going to have to look that up. Melissa K. Norris. Huh, interesting. I don't know. Not familiar with her. Let's see. Madison says, I got the tomatoes from Siskiyou Seeds. That's the seed company I was saying I've never heard of, but that's the ones that come up in the search. Interesting. Oh, and then there's a link from Melissa K. Norris. Forgotten plants that practically preserve themselves. I'd have to see that to believe it. Just because somebody says it, I don't know. We'll see. But they may last longer. I don't know. It's worth a try, I suppose. I guess the more important thing is, how do they taste? That's the key. I find a lot of times, tomatoes especially, it seems like the ones that are, everybody raves about, they just don't taste that good. Like the Cherokee Purples, for example. That was a big deal a couple of years ago. Everybody loved the Cherokee Purples, thought they were great. And, this, I don't know, it was trendy thing. So I tried growing some and they just didn't taste very good. It wasn't they tasted bad. They just didn't taste like tomato, like fresh tomato. They weren't real strong tomato. They just weren't good. So I stopped growing them. So I'm more interested in how they taste compared to how they preserve. Because I'll can the ones that I don't. I usually grow like paste tomatoes for canning. I like the Amish paste quite a bit. Romas are good too. But I'll can those. And then I've got unlimited storage. Well, practically, at least a year anyway. George says, we have tomato vines that are 2 or 3 years old, not cold enough in the winter to die off. My wife lassos them into rings and to keep getting tomatoes. LO. Yeah, that'd be nice if we didn't. Peppers are perennial and they'll grow. Our winters are just too cold, so it kills them off. So they're annuals here, but they would be perennial as well. They'll continue to grow. Raw Food Writer says, planning to get my first quail soon. Think I'll get 20 jumbo hens from my shire, first time quailer. Nice. Well, you can't guarantee you're going to get 20 jumbo hens if you're ordering from my shire. You're going to, and pretty much any supplier, you're going to be ordering eggs. You get whatever hatches. But hopefully, I would order 100 eggs and you should get at least probably 20 hens out of that. Kayla says, thank you. Well, you're absolutely welcome. Don says, I bet they wouldn't want to do business in Chicago, so they avoid it. Could be. Farmer Marshall says, Piagnolo tomatoes can store up to 6 months too. Interesting. I've never heard of those either. Do they taste good? I don't know. George says, does anybody have polytunnels here? They're great for all-round vegetables. I've tried something similar. And it's just still too cold in the wintertime here. They work, they'll extend your season, but it won't let you do year round. It's just too cold in the winter. We were -8 degrees Fahrenheit, last week. It's just too cold. Buck says, most gardening tubers are just sales reps for a myriad of undisclosed sponsors. Yeah, it could be. Or they just jump on a trend and, they hear something, they want to share it with everybody. It's not always that, that big of a deal. It's not that they're necessarily lying to anybody. They just, they see something trendy, they jump on it just like everybody else does, and they want to share it with their, audience or something like that. SS Swanson says polytunnels, aka greenhouses, wind tunnels, etc. Yeah, I knew what he meant, but like I said, it's still too cold here to go year round. Andy Rabbit says, I got a few plants yesterday from Tractor Supply, waiting on some other stores to get some live trees. It's getting close, but it's still a little bit early to be putting plants out. So That's why I mean, if I was going to buy plants, I'd wait till probably, I mean, it'd be like first week of May. I mean, there's no sense in buying plants that I'm going to have to put under lights and keep alive and keep, repotting and keep from getting too big and for the next 2 months, Andy Rabbit said, or let's see, Don says to Andy Rabbit, I will check them out when they get to my local Rural King. Andy says, I have spring fever. I get it. I mean, it feels like spring this week, but we're still a ways away. I mean, we still got a little bit of time before it's actually ready to put things out in the garden. Don says, I'll look for barefoot brushes or berries, etc. Bare root, not barefoot. That makes more sense. I read that wrong and thought, what is a barefoot bush? Bare root bushes. That makes more sense. It's a good time to put trees out for sure, but most of your garden plants, it's a little too early. We planted, this was last fall, which is typically the best time to plant trees, but last fall we planted a persimmon tree. It's only about that tall right now, so we'll see if it makes it through summer. I don't mow it over and forget it's there or something, but hopefully it does. Hopefully it does good. Andy Rabbit says they are the same shipment no matter when I grab them. I would rather take care of them. Yeah, I understand. S.O. Swanson says, barefoot bushes don't have thorns. Just kidding. Yeah, I wondered. I thought somebody was sharing something new with me on a barefoot bush. What is that? Abbott's Guns and Hobbies says, -8 last week, 67 today. Gotta love Oklahoma weather. We're the same way. Southwest Missouri, it was exactly the same. -8 a week ago, and I think it got up to like 74 on Tuesday. Just crazy. We still had snow on the ground. It was 74 degrees, and there was snow. It's just such a warm front came through. It was crazy. And all week it's been just beautiful. I think they're saying a cold front's going to come through this weekend. We're going to be down to like 56 or something. So probably a good day to get out and cut some wood because I got a bunch I need to clean up. But I don't know if I'll get that done this weekend or not. We'll see. How are we doing on time? We got 9 minutes left. Always a good time to talk to you guys. And give me some more chats to respond to so we don't just sit here in silence in the next 9 minutes because I got nothing else interesting to share. Desert Homestead says over 90 degrees today, not cool. 100 is like our first snow here. Over 90 degrees today, not cool. 100 is like our first snow here. Oh, you mean when you first hit 100, it's the same as us, like our first snow, I guess? Huh. Kayla says, thank you so much for all your videos and for sharing all your knowledge. I have 6 hens and 1 roo. I'm a first timer and I keep them as pets. And for the eggs, thank you for all your insight. You are absolutely welcome. That's a really good hen to roo ratio. You may not be incubating eggs, but if you wanted fertile eggs, that's a really good ratio for it. You don't have, I mean, it's on the verge. I usually do 1 to 5, but you're pretty close. Andy Rabbit says, I got a fig tree, thornless raspberry and blackberry, purple asparagus roots, and horseradish root. I found, I haven't done fig trees. And my wife's got a thornless raspberry. No, I don't know if it's thornless or not. A raspberry bush out front, so it's doing pretty decent. Asparagus is a good one. It's a perennial. It'll come back year after year. Horseradish root I've never grown, so I don't know much about that. I found the thornless blackberries, though. They're not nearly as prolific as wild blackberries. We have wild blackberries on my property. Not a lot, but some. But, man, you can't get rid of those things hardly. But the thornless ones, you can't hardly keep them alive. It's hard. They don't propagate like the regular wild thorny blackberries do. Maybe you'll have better luck. S.O. Swanson says, heater on Tuesday, AC on Wednesday. Yeah, Mother Nature is drunk. Yeah, I haven't turned the air conditioner on yet. Don says, if no one has questions for Chris, you can call off early. You aren't punching a time clock. That's true. I could, but I'm not worried about it. I'll stick around. We got questions. We got stuff coming in. Andy says, here in San Diego, we had a cat die yesterday of bird flu. Oh, my goodness. Terrible. I saw a Joe Salatin video where he was talking about the bird flu, and he made a lot of sense, what he was talking about, how they kill off all the birds in a flock whenever one of them tests positive for bird flu. He said, when bird flu hits a flock or something like that, there's always some that survive and get through no problems. And the smart thing to do would really be to allow those birds to continue to live and reproduce and produce birds that have stronger immunity to it. Made a lot of sense, but yeah, we're never going to get anybody to do that. But yeah, a cat dying from it's unusual. David says, last week we had the fireplace going. Yeah, you needed it last week. Abbott's Guns and Hobbies says, do you have a recommended quail breeder around Southwest Missouri or Northeast Oklahoma? I don't know anybody that's that close if you're looking for live birds, but if you're looking for eggs, it doesn't really matter. You know, we went through a whole list of suppliers there, and you can order eggs from pretty much anywhere. Andy Rabbit says, and a kiwi plant. Will kiwi grow in our area? I think it's too cold here, isn't it? Maybe not. George says, a cat with the bird flu, LOL. Better get a vaccination, huh? Don says, I couldn't grow thornless blackberries here either. Yeah, they just didn't do well for me. Oh, S.O. Swanson says, Abbott's Guns and Hobbies near St. Louis is Short Pickens quail. I didn't realize they were in Missouri. Andy Rabbit says, I have rabbit manure. Well, I do too, but it didn't seem to make much of a difference. Desert Homesteading says, yes, summer is here as brutal as snow and frost for Bond Desert folk, LOL. Non-desert folk, there we go. That makes more sense, LOL. Gotcha. Well, yeah, I mean, we get hot summers too. I mean, it's not unusual for us to be over 100 degrees for weeks on end, and high humidity. So, I mean, I know you probably get much hotter than that, but it's probably drier there. So it makes a difference. Oh yeah, Kansas City Quail Farm is close to there. Are they back in the quail business? I thought they had gotten out of the quail business for a while, stopped shipping, stopped selling. I don't know if they're back up and going again or not. Forgot about Kansas City Quail Farm though, because like I said, I thought they had really stopped. Andy says, I haven't seen the thornless berries in store before. I hope they produce something anyway. Yeah, now realize blackberries are second year. Like you won't get berries the first year. It'll be the second year. The shoots that come up, they produce the second year, and then they die off. So it's good to trim them back, basically. I mean, you don't have to, but it's a good idea to do it. Don says, yes, they are shipping live birds last week, and my eggs are coming from KCO Quail too. Oh, nice. I used to do a lot of business with them. There was a time where I just recommended them primarily. They're a good supplier. Desert Homestead says, super dry. It's like gardening in the oven. Yeah, we're the other way around. When it's like 100 degrees, you usually have like 75% humidity, and you walk outside and just start dripping sweat. It just clings to you, and it's a lot different than the heat in the desert, trust me. S.O. Swanson says, KC Quail is selected, limited, customers only. Ah, gotcha. Andy Rabbit says they have some, but you got to contact them. And Don says, I guess I am selected then now. I guess you are. They're good people. I like them. I haven't talked to them in a long time, but they are good people. See, George says, humidity is a killer. We have a lot where we live. 70% even in winter makes the air feel cooler than it is. Yeah, we have I mean, it gets super dry here in the wintertime. So dry. I mean, I have a hard time keeping like my hands from cracking and bleeding because it's so dry in the wintertime here. But in the summertime, it's like humidity is high and we get the opposite. Andy Rabbit says, you are the reason I do business with KC Quail Farms. Okay, that's a text from somebody. I'm going to have to wait to respond to that. Andy Rabbit says, okay, you're the reason I got into Kansas City Quail Farm. Yeah, I like those guys. They're good. Good people. Rob and Jenna say, hello from West Tennessee, sunny and 65 degrees here. I hope you're doing well, brother. I'm doing pretty good. Hopefully you are too. Sounds like it. 65 degrees is pretty nice. There's also Beam Farm in Hera, Oklahoma. I wasn't aware of them either. Don says they are Facebook, and you can email off her website too. You do connect contact them, I think is what it is, unless she runs a special on Facebook. Interesting. Steve's giving us or S.O. Swanson's giving us a 2-minute warning. It's actually more like a minute. We're almost done here. Dawn says, I've never heard of Beam Farm. I haven't either. Everybody's selling quail nowadays. I have people all the time ask me about selling quail. I do sell some locally here occasionally, but I'm just not set up to do big operation and be able to ship nationwide or ship anywhere for that matter. Desert Homestead says, I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio. It was 98 degrees and 98% humidity, heat index of 130. I saw Phoenix was only 116 degrees, so I moved here 25 years ago. Yeah, it is different. I know exactly what you mean. I've been to Phoenix. I remember when I was in Phoenix, I was walking down the street, and I'd walked to the gas station, got a soda or something, walking back, and looked up at the sign. The bank had the temperature on the sign. It was like 120 degrees. I couldn't believe it. It didn't feel like that at all. All right. Mike says, I just picked up my first batch 36-inch by 36-inch double stacked, mounted in a sturdy wooden frame for $100 with all the feeders and waters. I'm excited to start rabbits. That's a pretty good deal. Congratulations. George says, not profitable to sell quail or eggs to breeders or restaurants here. You do it for self-sufficiency. Yeah, it's kind of the same way here, really, unless you're doing huge supplies. All right, guys, we're going to wrap this one up. We're actually a minute past, but always good hanging out with you. Should be back next week. Don't see any reason why I won't. And we'll see you guys then. So, as always, God bless. We'll see you guys later. Take care.